Next week, the Asian Development Bank is holding its 9th Business Opportunities Fair. To learn more about what we can expect from that event, as well as ADB's approach to procurement and partnerships, we're here with Deborah Stokes, who's ADB's Vice President for Corporate Management and Administration. She oversees the budget, personnel, and information systems and technology, among other important areas. Deborah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
So I've personally attended the Business Opportunities Fair for the last 5 or 6 years, and each year it seems to attract a bigger audience. Why do you think that's the case? Why is there growing interest in the bank?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of reasons, and the first one is perhaps the most important one, and that is that ADB's operations are growing, and so therefore there's more business. So it makes sense for consultants, for companies to pay attention to that trend because there's opportunities for them. So I think that is the standout reason, and the reason our resources for lending are growing is because we had the merger of our resources, the concessional resources with our balance sheet, our ordinary capital resources, and we have expanded our ability to lend. So last year we had a record level of lending, 19.1 billion, which was a 9% growth on the previous year. So that gives you an indication of the scale that we're dealing with here. There's, I think, another reason that there's this great interest in the Business Opportunities Fair, and we have valued very much in recent years a growing interest by embassies here in Manila and their trade commissions and their respective organisations back in their capitals, and so they have played a role also in promoting the fair and the opportunities that come from the fair. So I think those are probably the two standout reasons why interest is growing, and we've had, last year we had 1,200 people register, and this year it's 1,400. So we're seeing significant growth, and I think we do have a lot of repeat visitors, and they clearly see value in attending. They benefit from particularly the networking. So as long as we can continue to deliver an effective Business Opportunities Fair, I think we'll continue to get a good attendance rate.
Can we expect anything different from this year's Business Opportunities Fair? What do you have in store for those Devex members that are planning to attend?
Yeah. Well, the reality is every year our program is constantly changing. Our operations in all of our various partner countries, they're evolving. So every year the Business Opportunities Fair gives the participants an opportunity to get real-time information on the evolving nature of our operations. So they can stay in tune with what the latest focus and themes in our operations. So in that sense, that's always new from one year to the next. The other area that will be a new feature this year is we're going to have a dedicated session on our procurement reforms. ADB adopted reforms to its procurement policy last year, and there'll be a dedicated session to give more information on the rollout of those reforms and what they might mean for the participants.
Many of the attendees of the Business Opportunities Fair are interested in technical assistance projects as well, which represents a smaller fraction of the overall ADB budget, of course, but still a significant a pool of money there for opportunities. So, I'm sure every year you get the same question, but sort of, if you're a organization that has never worked with ADB, how do you get your foot in the door? I know Devex has reported on sort of different strategies about starting in less crowded countries, or first sort of selling your experts and applying for individual consulting assignments rather than putting your firm out there first. Do you have any advice for ways these organizations can sort of get their foot in the door?
Well, the most important thing is we're looking for the best quality. So that's the first starting point, is that we're looking for quality, we're looking for the best expertise we can find. It's also very competitive. We draw on expertise from our 67 member countries, so it's a competitive process, and that's good for ADB, that's good for our developing member countries. What is for newcomers, what they might, we would certainly advise them to do is to look at our website. There's a lot of information on our website about our country programs, our strategies. So there's the country partnership strategies that are there, and they're updated every 5 years or so. So they're slightly more bigger picture. And then every year we update our business plans for those country operations. So reading those documents, you will see very quickly what ADB is supporting, the sorts of themes that are in our programs, and where you might fit in as a business or an individual. So that's probably the first thing to do. Another step that is a possible one, and that is to partner with a company that is already has had some business with ADB. So that's another tactic that can be used. And then one final point I would mention, in view of the competitive nature of the process, I would suggest that interested individuals or companies, they focus, not have a scattergun approach to the bids that they might make. Look at where they think they really have the expertise that is what ADB is looking for, and pitch for that. That's what we would recommend.
That's really good advice. So, and you mentioned higher quality and taking that targeted approach. So maybe on just the individual consultant level, what are the characteristics of a ADB consultant that you find that really permits them, facilitates them excelling with ADB? What are the talents, the skills that make a really qualified, successful consultant?
Well, it's probably got two sides to it. One is the technical expertise, and related to that is probably some experience. But we also need people who have the ability to operate in a multicultural environment. So that's really crucial. They also need to know how to operate in teams. And we also need people who can be team leaders. And not everyone is good at that, perhaps, and perhaps hasn't got a track record in that. But we will always be looking for people who can demonstrate that they can lead teams. But perhaps most importantly, we need consultants who can listen carefully to what our clients are saying, understand that, and then to translate that into the valuable project activity that we're seeking to support. So the challenge is to put that in the application, so not only the skills and the cutting edge technology and experience, but we're also looking for these other kinds of abilities that they can point to, that they have been able to demonstrate those in the past.
Absolutely. You mentioned the procurement reform at ADB. I'd just like to elaborate on that a little bit. So I know the focus is on more flexibility, faster processing. What are some other more sort of specific areas that where a firm that's bidding on ADB projects or an individual consultant might see this reform actually playing out? What is sort of the status, and what's the future look like?
So our procurement reforms, in a sense, had two prongs. One was the policy, and another one was how we operate within ADB. And we're on the second one, we're putting more resources, more staffing into our procurement specialists. So we're recruiting more procurement specialists. But what we're also doing is we're outposting more of our procurement specialists into the field, into our resident missions, and also into our regional departments, so that there's this much closer connection between our procurement specialists and the people actually working on operations. And in the field, in the resident missions, we're hoping very much that having the procurement specialists there will also help with the interaction with the developing member country, our executing agencies who we partner with. So we're hoping very much through this effort that we're going to bring down the duration of the procurement time. So that's one very important plank. The second plank is the policy, and probably most significant to mention is that we're moving to a principles-based approach, which means that we'll have more flexibility in how we can, the sorts of procurement options and methods that we choose to adopt. So quality and value for money are two new principles in the procurement policy, on top of the previous principles, and where our goal here is to allow us to get the best technology, the best expertise, and also with a mind to cost, but cost not overriding quality. So this is an important aspect of the reform. We also want to be able to be more responsive and customised to the particular situation in a particular country and in a particular sector that we're involved in. So the aim very much is to have procurement solutions that really match the need that we're looking at. So we're hopeful that these reforms will make ADB a more responsive partner for our clients.